Peace, everybody. Back on another video. This is Mr. President. It's time to investigate George Soros for funding domestic terrorism. Alright, so the people want George Soros investigated for funding domestic terrorism. And as you can see here are the officers in riot gear, the patriots on the other end with the sign. Alright. And this article is from June 7th, 2 days ago. Mr. President, you've taken step one, declaring Antifa a domestic terrorist organization. That was a brilliant move. Now it's time for step number two. Cut the head off the snake. We've got to aggressively cut off the funding for domestic terrorism. Yes, so the person told Donald Trump that he's taken step one, declaring Antifa a domestic terrorist. All right. That was a brilliant move, and now it's time for step number two, cut the head off the snake. So the snake is next to cut the head off, because they love finding trouble, they love to start trouble and everything else. Those who provide funding are terrorists themselves. Who is providing the funding? There are many suspects. Suspect number one is globalist billionaire George Soros and his Open Society foundations. It starts there. Yes, it does start there, because he's been funding all this mess and everything else that we are going through right now. His Open Society Foundation, people need to start investigating there, do research on it. Do research on George Soros, because he's responsible for all of this mess that everybody is going through. And he's having a lot of fun now, but it ain't going to be so funny when somebody catches him. Is Soros guilty? That's way above my pay grade. That's why we need a global investigation. So the question is Soros guilty? Yes, he is guilty. He did the Open Society Foundation. That's why he's funding all these alleged terrorism. Because he's putting this world into a chaos. In other words, having people fight against each other and everything else. I'm sure there are many other millionaire and billionaire socialists and globalists involved. It's time to make them run for their lives if found guilty. It will be time to freeze their assets and hunt them down. So when they get found, their assets will be freeze real quick. Also, the person says, I'm sure there are many other millionaire and billionaire socialists and globalists. Obama Foundation, Clinton Foundation, Gates Foundation, Zuckerberg Foundation. And yes, you heard me right, Zuckerberg Foundation. I had no idea he was in the middle of it too. There are a lot of foundations that these millionaire and billionaires are doing. My fellow Americans, we are at war. We must face it head on. Evil globalist and socialist elites are out to bring down and destroy America. Their political arm is the Democrat Party. Their propaganda arm is mainstream media and social media. Their funding arm is Hollywood and Silicon Valley. Their brainwashing arm is made up of millions of Marxist public school teachers and college professors. And as we are now seeing on the streets of U.S. cities, their military arm is Antifa. Yes, so my fellow Americans, we are at war, and I'm sorry to say, but that is the truth. We are at war now, but it's not the kind of war that you think, oh, well, you're going to go kill somebody, blah, blah, blah. Not that kind of war. It's a spiritual war. We must face it head on. Evil Globalist and socialist elites are out to bring down and destroy America. And don't forget the Hollywood stars elites either, because they're in on it too. So you must not forget them. Silicon Valley, well, we know what's out there, what's in Silicon Valley. Facebook, with Mark Zuckerberg's foundation. Their brainwashing arm is made up of millions of Marxist public school teachers and college professors, which is true because they're brainwashing you with everything that they're not really telling you. They're telling you part of the history, but they're not telling you the whole history of what's really going on. As we are now seeing on the streets of U.S. cities, their military arm is Antifa. So Donald Trump has declared Antifa the terrorist organization. This is his words, not mine. I got nothing to do with it. I only expose the lies. There's no need to question what's happening. You can see it with your own eyes. This nationwide rioting, looting, burning, and attacks on police is all clearly coordinated by allies of the Democratic Party, socialists, Marxists, communists, globalists, radical, extreme, open borders, madmen. They are carrying out a detailed plan of domestic terrorism, and that's what they're doing. They're killing our planet. They do not care. And the rioting and looting, I don't know if it's still going on, but if it is, where the heck are they this time? Where are they this time, the rioters and the looters? They already burned half of the cities down everywhere. Rioting and looting, that was all over the place, all throughout the United States. Attacks on police is all clearly coordinated by allies of the Democratic Party, which are the shadow governments. Socialists, Marxists, communists, globalists, radical, extreme, open borders, madmen. So they're all in on it. This is why all of it was planned out. All right, it was all planned out what they were going to do. This is why they're showing you what they are doing to our planet. They're showing you. And they're also telling on themselves as well. So I learned this strategy at Columbia University with my classmate Barack Obama. That's not his real name. And if you don't believe that, go on Google, look up Barry Soetoro. You'll find it there, literally, because that's his real name. Go on Google, type in Barry Soetoro, and you'll know that it's Obama, because that's his real name. It is called the Cloward Piven strategy. All the elite kids I met at Columbia believed in this plan. They all bragged about being socialist and communist. They hated America, capitalism, wealthy business owners, and perhaps most of all, white people. So these people, they don't like America at all. They hate white people. Well, what did we do to them? What did we do to them? Excuse me? We did nothing to these people, but yet they hate America and they hate white people? Excuse me? Barack Obama, sir, you're not American, so shut up. They hated America. Well, yeah, of course, because we're a threat to the globalists. Excuse me? We can't help it. We're doing better for ourselves than what these shadow governments are doing. They're not doing good by you. They're killing you. They don't care. Socialists? Oh yeah, let's just drag all that in. They all bragged about being socialists and communists. Well, yep, that's what they're bragging about. They're telling on themselves, literally. But socialists and communists, can we get a little real with that, please? I mean, yes, it is heading towards a communist country. It is heading towards that way. They hated America, capitalism. They don't even care, these people, at all. Sigmund Freud would have had a field day with my vicious, intellectual, self hating liberal classmates because they were all the things they hated. White, rich, and the children are wealthy business owners. So I guess whoever the person is saying that Sigmund Freud would have had a field day with my vicious, intellectual, self-hating liberal classmates. So the liberals hate America too. I don't know what their problem is, but they hate America too. They were all the things they hated: white, rich, and the children of wealthy business owners. So this is what they hate: white people that are rich and the children of wealthy business owners. Well, if they don't like it, then get out the country. You don't have, nobody's asking you to stay. Nobody's giving you permission to stay here, or nobody's giving you permission to leave the country. You could go. You could go. We're not holding you hostage or whatever. You could go. You're free to go wherever you want. But we're not holding them hostage. What for? We don't care. Go wherever you want. My classmates repeated over and over that they wanted to overwhelm the U.S. economic system, bankrupt the wealthy, close all the businesses, and burn it all down. Well, they pretty much have done that. All the businesses were burnt down. Look what happened in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Everything gone. The elderly don't know where to go for their medicines or any food, nothing, because of what these alleged terrorism did. Look around. It's happening first with the lockdown and closure of the U.S. economy because of media hype, hysteria, and the exaggeration, whatever, about the COVID-19 pandemic. Well, that was a psyop right there, the COVID-19. Sorry to say, but it is true, and you all fell for it. They did lock down the world. They locked down, or they closed the U.S. economy. They destroyed that. But Donald Trump is getting the U.S. economy back up to where it was before, because he's not on either side of the Republican or the Democrats, which are the shadow governments. He's not on either side of them. He's doing what he can to restore everything that people have lost. He's not on nobody's side. He's a patriot, so you might as well get used to that one. And he's your president, whether you like it or not. And when they didn't finish the job, they moved to Plan B: riots, unrest, looting, and torturing businesses. So they had a Plan B all this time, with the riots, unrest, looting, and torturing businesses. And oh my goodness, I've seen places in Minneapolis, Minnesota, on people's lives that everything was burned. AutoZone, Target, Wendy's Wendy's stores, everything. The only thing that was left was the laundromat. So I guess after all the rioting and whatever, they had to go to the laundromat to wash their clothes to get all the evidence off. Excuse me. That didn't, they're going to find stuff sooner or later. Now they want the police departments to be defunded. If that happens, how are you going to protect yourself? Think about it. If the police stations all go away, how are you going to defend yourself when you need help, when there are no police around? They're all scripting this mess. There's no need to debate. It's all happening in front of our eyes. We are at war. Well, yeah, it's a spiritual war, but it doesn't mean that the real war, it's only a spiritual war. I know a lot of you can't handle the truth because you know it is the truth, so you might as well get used to it. But the BLM, the Antifa, they're all funded by George Soros. He's doing all of this. And, unfortunately, he's 89 years old, going on 90 in August, and I don't know why he's still alive to begin with. Why is he still alive? Now, I know he lives somewhere here in New York State. I just don't know where. So hopefully somebody will find him, throw his butt in prison. If not, throw him out of this country, back to his country where he came from, and that's Hungary. But they don't want him either, so they got to do something with him. It's no accident Democratic governors and mayors are fighting the hardest to keep the economy closed. Well, yeah, let them try it, because you know what? It's not going to work. People are waking up. They're going back to work. The mayors and governors, they're evil. They're doing all these crimes and have to keep people locked down. But you know what? Where in the civil or the Constitution does it say that the mayors and governors have the right to keep people locked down? Nowhere. Nowhere. So they've been lying to you all this time. It's no accident that Antifa, excuse me for saying this word, thugs are showing up with bricks and Molotov cocktails to lead riots and burn cities. Yeah, so they've been burning everything down. They did. They've been burning everything down all over the place. They didn't care. What do they care? They come from other states to ruin people's businesses that are not their own. All right, that's what they do. They ruin people's businesses that are not theirs. And they had no right to do that. This is no amateur hour. This was planned, organized, coordinated, and funded by our enemies. Excuse me for saying this word again. Thugs are being bussed and flown into big cities to lead riots. Their weapons have been delivered to protest sites ahead of time. And where did all the violent, excuse me for saying that word again, thugs and hooligans come from? The liberal district attorneys, in many cases, put in place by the funding of George Soros and others like him. Let the felons out of prison. Someone will pay for all of this. It's time to take aggressive action and prove who will pay. Yeah, prisoners. Hillary, she's got connections to them somehow. She's letting all the prisoners out. Think about it. Soros has been funding all these alleged terrorist group. This is no amateur hour. This was planned, organized, and coordinated and funded by our enemies, which is Obama Foundation, Clinton Foundation, Soros Foundation, every other foundation that you could think of. Allegedly, thugs are being bussed and flown into big cities to lead riots. So the rioters and the looters, they come from other cities, from other states too. So that's why if they don't belong in your city or your state, those are the agitators that are doing all of this, whether you like it or whether you believe it or not. But I know they have been doing it because they did it to my city. They graffitied the police station, the city hall. I've seen pictures of it, so I know what they're about. Also, it goes on, someone will pay for all of this. It's time to take aggressive action and prove who will pay. Well, yeah, apparently they will, but they can't because they're going to deny everything and say, oh no, I didn't do it. And then nobody's going to go to jail? Really? Here is a plan, Mr. President, to stop the unrest and end the crisis. So Here we go. Cut the head off of the snake, just like the battle against Islamic terrorism allegedly. Follow the money. Order a worldwide investigation into the funding of domestic terrorism. Suspect number one has to be Soros and his Open Society foundations. But there are many more wealthy globalists and socialists involved. Yes, there are. There are many more of them. There's a whole lot more people that are wealthy, globalists, and socialists involved as well. Sign an executive order tripling prison sentences for many felonies committed during riots or unrest. These are hate crimes. These offenses deserve special harsh punishment under the umbrella of domestic terrorism. So next, they would have to sign Donald Trump would have to sign the executive order for these shadow governments to be arrested, but unfortunately that's not going to happen because everything is all scripted. Bring in the National Guard when circumstances warrant with or without the approval of domestic governors. A brave young police officer was shot in the neck during a Black Lives Matter protest here in Las Vegas. Now, do you really think you're going to believe that? Come on. All right, bringing in the National Guard, that means martial law, curfews, everything. Domestic governors. With the approval of domestic governors. A brave young police officer was shot in the neck during a Black Lives Matter, which is funded by George Soros as well. As of this writing, he is in grave condition on life support. He might have very well been home with his family and healthy if the National Guard had been on the streets that night backing up police. We can't afford to wait for Democratic governors to act. All right, so, and this is what I mean, they can't wait. Don't stop with the investigation of George Soros and other possible funders of domestic terrorism. Investigate Democratic governors and members of Congress with ties to Antifa. They are doing the bidding of domestic terrorism. So, yeah, it says don't stop with the investigation of George Soros. So that means you got to tear his website apart to see what you can find in there, because there's a whole lot of stuff in there that even I can't get in there unless I put my email address in. I'm not doing that. But if somebody can get around his firewall thing or whatever, knock your socks off, because I really don't care. Intercept all those piles of bricks left by Antifa at protest sites across the USA. Load them onto trucks, drive them to the US-Mexico border, and use them to build our wall. Well, apparently the when you find footages of police cars, they're the ones that are bringing the bricks. All right, that's what they are. They're piling up they were piling them up all over the place. And then the people who are innocent, the patriots, they're wondering, where did these bricks come from? Who brought them here? See, because they don't know who did it, but the people who notices them do know who brought them in. Intercept all those piles of bricks left by Antifa at protest sites across the USA. So that's what they did too. They just left them all over the place. Okay, so we are at war. It's time to take aggressive action, and it's time to pick a side. You are either for the making America great again, or you are against it. If you're against it, you are an enemy of the United States of America. Yes, so now is the time to pick a side. And I know most of you are going to go against it, so that means you're the enemy, while the good people are on the American side. Think about it. So this is why we are at war, in a spiritual war, that is. Also, it says it's time to take aggressive action and it's time to pick a side. You are either for the American, making America great again, or you are against it. If you're against it, you are an enemy of the United States of America. So, time to pick a side, people. Wake up. Leave your comments below. I am out.